definitely the sparkliest dressed guests we've ever had here. As you can see, I'm very much in the Christmas spirit. Last night I went to Radio City Music Hall to check out the Christmas Spectacular starring the Radio City Rockettes, and they gave away these hats. So I thought, obviously I'm gonna wear it. So we're all in the spirit together.
Looks great.
Thank you. Danelle and Elissa,
Yes,
you
hi.
are here representing a huge troupe of iconic ladies. Tell me about the Radio City Rockettes.
Well, the job of being a Radio City Rockette, I can't really call it a job. It's the epitome of what it means to be a strong, confident woman. And I think that to have 36 women on stage all working really hard towards something that is the Christmas Spectacular, and any task that we do it's really an honor.
Yeah, and especially to be a part of a group of women that have been around since 1933. It's something really amazing and something to be so proud of. So that also, I think, as part of the job is concerned, it's a pretty cool aspect of the job.
The one thing I know about the Rockettes is that there are actually 80 of you that rotate in and out of the show. Yeah. Are there two separate troops that switch back and forth, or do you sort of rotate a few here and a few there?
We do. We have two casts because we have shows all day, every day, 7 days a week for 7 weeks.
195 shows a season, I read.
It's a lot of shows.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we can't do all 195 shows. So we do have two casts that we technically consider like a morning cast and an evening cast. Excuse me. And so that way we don't, we have the same group that does the morning cast and the same group that does the evening cast. So we're able to perform shows 7 days a week, all the time.
Yeah, it's really cool because we rehearse together all in one space. So it's 80 women all doing the same choreography, and it's, it's one of those moments where you just look around and you're like, oh my gosh, there are so many of us and we're all working towards the same goal. So it's really cool to transition from being in the rehearsal space to going into tech rehearsal at the theater where we get to watch the show that we're doing on the other cast. So you see sort of how the show comes to be.
I definitely want to talk about the rehearsal process, the audition process, your history and how you discovered the Rockettes. But first, I want to, just for anyone who hasn't seen the Christmas Spectacular, can you each describe it in a couple of sentences, what it's like for someone, if you were trying to tell somebody what this is, what this phenomenon is all about?
Sure. To me, it's the kind of the epitome of what the holiday season is about, and it's being able to share 90 minutes of your day with your friends and your family of all ages, whether you're 2 or 90 years old, just to come together and really celebrate what is the meaning of the season, and that is just bringing joy to everybody and just enjoying time with your family and your friends. And it is, when you walk inside that theater, it is decorated head to toe in Christmas, and I'm sure, like you said, you saw it last night, and so it really just gets you in the Christmas spirit, and it makes you walk away just really happy and full of joy. And that's, to me, what is the best part of our show and the best part of our job is to be able to bring that to everybody every day.
And Danelle, what can people expect to actually see on the stage?
Well, on the stage, you're going to see 36 women dancing 100% in sync, day in and day out.
Like they're a single organism.
Yes, it is. It's something that still, I'm 11 years in now, and it amazes me. And woven into that is we have a story of 2 boys who are looking for a gift for their little sister, and it's the journey that these 2 boys go on, and they sort of encounter the Rockettes in different ways, and that's how the story is woven together to sort of spread the Christmas spirit and remind the audience that it isn't necessarily about this gift or that gift, but it's more about coming together and enjoying each other and just being together as a unit.
So you've been a Rockette for 11 years?
11 years.
So one thing I know, yes.
Thank you.
One thing I know about the Rockettes is that you actually have to audition again every year. So you've made the cut of 500 women or so who show up and then they hire 80?
Yes.
Talk to me about that audition process.
Year to year, it sort of varies as far as the amount of spots that are open, because as women in general, we sort of have our own things going on in our lives. But it's definitely a rigorous process, but it's sort of, we like to compare it to sort of like a football team or whatever, where, they just want to make sure that we're staying in the utmost shape and up to par. And it's great for us because we do work year round now. So it's really important for us to be in shape and just ready for anything. So it's sort of, once we're in, you're sort of in, and it's a good challenge for us to just maintain ourselves and always strive to be the best, because the show is, year after year, it sort of gets more and more demanding on our bodies,
Absolutely.
and it more and more intense. And our directors expect more and more from us. They don't want us to just stay stagnant, so they want us to grow. So it's a great challenge for us. And I always say, like, I'm 11 years in, but it's like I'm a new girl every year.
Yeah. Like she said, especially because, like you said, there's about 500 girls that audition every year. So there's women coming from all over the world vying for a spot on the line. So we have to prove ourselves just like everybody else does every single year to show that we, like you said, in the top shape and that we are, ready to do the exact precision dance that we've been doing every single year.
Elissa, how long have you been in the company?
This is year 7 for me, so not quite 11, but getting up there.
Tell me about your first audition process. Like, how did you find out about the call? Where did you show up? What did you have to do? Like, how did you go from regular old New Yorker, or maybe not New Yorker?
I'm not. I'm from Texas originally.
Okay, a Texas girl.
I'm a Texas
becoming
girl.
a Radio City Rockette.
Yeah, so I first saw the Rockettes on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, being in Texas every Thanksgiving.
When you were
when
a
I was
little girl?
little, that was our tradition. Mom woke us up with coffee every single morning at 8 a.m. to catch it every single Thanksgiving. And so that's how I first saw them and realized that is something I wanted to do.
I love that your mom was like, here's some coffee, get up.
We had it at a young age, small town Texas. I went to college for musical theater and dance. And my sister is actually in the same thing as well, and she became one of the singers in the show.
Oh, cool.
And so that's how I was able to first see the show as being an audience member. And then in 2009, I went and auditioned in New York City for a 2-day process, waited outside Radio City Music Hall with the 500 to 800 women for several hours before I actually made it in.
So it's an open call.
It's an open call. Anybody, as long as you're 18 years of age and between 5'6" to 5'10 and a half, you're more than welcome to show up. So we did that and went through cut after cut for a grueling 2-day process. And then at the end, there were, I guess, about maybe 20 to 25 of us left at the very end. And they took all of our measurements and all of our information and all of that stuff. And then they just said, wait for that call. And that was the longest, probably 2 months of my life.
Oh, wow. 2 months after the audition.
Having
before
to wait.
finding out
Yes,
you did it?
yes.
And was this in the middle of summer that you did this?
This was I think it was in May actually, and I think I found out in July is actually when that call came, and then the lapse around my parents' house just started after that. So yeah, it's a grueling process because it has been a dream of mine since I was a little girl, and and working so hard and training so hard for so long to do it. So when that call did finally come in, and then I've been doing it ever since.
And was your experience, Nell, similar to that?
It was
Wait
similar.
on the open call line?
Yes, I definitely waited and waited. I actually auditioned 3 times before I got the call. And when I got the call, I was actually studying abroad in Spain. So my cell phone, for some reason, wasn't working. And, 2 days later, my phone miraculously starts working, and I have like 10 voicemails from my parents.
Oh my gosh.
And they're like, Danelle, Radio City is calling you. So I finally call my parents back, and my dad's like, don't worry, I said you're accepting, so it's fine. So the running
like,
joke in the
"Dad."
family is that my dad is the reason I'm a Radio City Rockette. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. So I want to talk about the fact that it was your 3rd audition before you made it. I'm obsessed with stories of kind of stick-to-itiveness, grit, like people who don't give up after the first time. So what was your experience with those first 2 auditions, and what did you do differently the 3rd time?
Well, the thing that I love about the way the auditions are run at Radio City is that they do remember you. They try and call you by name as much as they can. They try and give you little notes to sort of like help you along. And I think with each audition, well, the first time I was cut, I think after the tap portion of the audition, I was like, okay, so that means I need to go into a tap class. So then I went into my tap classes, and then I made it through the next audition, but I didn't get a phone call. So then I was trying to figure out what it is exactly that I need to do. And, I come from the more like modern and contemporary dance background where I was more about making the choreography my own, So
Yeah.
I wasn't understanding the idea that, okay, it's not about what I am doing as an individual. It's about what me, this one of 36 women, means to the whole picture. So once I really grasped that idea, I finally got the call.
Oh, that's great. The precision is definitely the hallmark of what the Rockettes are all about. I mean, if you look at this picture, you can see every leg is raised to the exact same height. And it's to watch it, this is a weird kind of comparison, but you're in such sync that it's kind of like watching like a centipede or a millipede, one of those animals that has all of those legs
Yeah.
that it just knows because it has one brain.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
knows how to move them all at the same time. And I can only imagine how much rehearsal it takes to sort of mind meld like that,
Yeah.
to be able to non-verbally communicate where to go next.
It is. We rehearse 6 hours a day, 6 days a week for about a month or so before the curtain actually comes up. And it is, to me, it's probably harder than the shows, honestly, because you're just on your feet and you're doing maybe the same 8 count over and over for 20 minutes to get it right, and you're holding a pose, and our director choreographer is going, move a little to the right, no, that's too much, split it, and so you're doing that over and over because there are 80 of us in the rehearsal room, all coming from all walks of life. We've never danced with each other before, so you have to make 80 women look like one.
Right.
So it is a grueling rehearsal process, but it's so fun because we're laughing together and we're holding this pose with sweat dripping everywhere. but that's the beauty of us. That's what I think sets us apart from any other dance company or troupe or Broadway show. It's because that is what we do. We are precision dancers.
I read a quote from your director choreographer who said, "Don't let them know how much it hurts." Like, keep on smiling through it. But
Always.
from what I understand, you guys are like quarterbacks. You're like professional athletes. I hear that there's tons of injuries, that you have ice baths that you take after is that just a legend, or are you really getting into bathtubs full of ice?
We are working really, really hard, and it's one of the things that it's our job to make it look easy. So we are in the studio for 6 hours a day, standing on one leg in a deep, deep, deep plie, holding everything. So it's really, really, really intense. And one of the things that we do to recoup our muscles is we take ice baths.
We do, and we only have we only have 1 day off a week, and tomorrow we have 4 shows. So, and then to come back the day after that and do 2 or 3. So you have to have the recovery time. We have an amazing athletic department. People are getting taped up and getting stem treatments and ice baths and wrapped and warm up, cool down. I mean, there's so much that goes into it just so we can do the show 100 times in 7 weeks.
Yeah, it's much more than just standing there looking pretty and throwing your leg in the air.
A lot more than standing there looking pretty.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People, we're known for our world famous eye high kicks, but there's a whole production number that happens before that. Like we have, for instance, in the 12 days, which is the image here, the 12 days of Christmas, it's a 7.5 minute tap number. So we're tap dancing with live microphones on our shoes.
Yeah.
And just like this crazy in sync precision. And then we go and do a kick line at the end of that.
So those microphones, is it true that your heels are hollowed out so there's like a microphone inside the shoe?
We actually have, it's in the arch of the shoe, actually, where we have a wireless microphone in each shoe.
Each shoe, both
And
feet.
so when we learn the 12 days of Christmas, we learn, for instance, you'll go to take a tap class, and if you're stepping, you're just going to step however your body so chooses. But because these microphones are so high tech, it picks up every single little sound. So we know if we're stepping on a flat foot, if we're stepping on the ball of our foot, if we're going to scuff versus like dig your heel, if we're going to drag. So the entire process is completely planned out, and bless our dance captains and directors for getting us into gear and figuring out all of these things that are going to sound the best for the microphones and make us sound the best on stage.
Yeah, that's what I feel like a lot of people don't know when I've told people that we actually have for 12 Days of Christmas and for our ragdoll number that we have mics on each foot, and they think that it is pre-recorded stuff, and it's not. It's our live feed. Everything is live 100% of the show, which is really cool,
Well, one of my favorite things about this tradition, which it really is, I mean, I said to a friend last night, I said, it's not the holidays until you see the Radio City Christmas Spectacular. It does have a real element of nostalgia, and there are certain numbers that have been there since the beginning, since the 1930s. But there's also, every year, there are new elements of technology that make it feel really fresh and new. And I know that the wireless microphones on the shoes were something that were incorporated a few years ago. This year, I don't remember this from last year, but correct me if I'm wrong, there are these giant snowflake drones that they're like 3 or 4 feet across. They look like hot air balloons, and they just like fly right over your head.
It's really cool. Yeah, they're all
super
GPS
modern.
tracking snowflakes that in our finale number of Snow, that they come up from the pit and they literally are GPSing over the entire audience through the mezzanine. I mean, they're all over. So you're really like immersed into this full production of like a winter wonderland almost. And I mean, you can't do that anywhere else. You can't have, I think there's like 8 of them. You can't have that in any other theater besides Radio City Music Hall, which is really cool. So yeah, it's Radio City keeps it the highest technology possible. We're always keeping up with the times and what's
Yeah.
new and trending, and it's really cool.
But still, I get the feeling that if somebody hadn't seen the show in 20 years, they would still feel like they were getting what they came for.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you talk about the
Exactly.
toy soldiers number?
Oh, the Parade of the Wooden Soldiers. It's one of my favorite. It's been a part of the Christmas Spectacular since 1933. So anyone who's ever been a Rockette has done the Parade of the Wooden Soldiers, and I think that is something that's so phenomenal about the legacy. And it's the number that really shows the precision of it all. It's, you know, when we're walking, it's basically as though there's one rod through each and every Rockette. So we are just one unit, and it's the epitome of what it means to work together. Because if the person next to me is not attempting to be in a straight line, it's not gonna help the picture. So we all are working 100% in it, and they say, oh yeah, you're just walking, but it's so much more than just walking. And
It feels sort of like a full body game of telephone where the message somehow ends up getting perfectly passed from one end to the
Yes.
next.
Yes.
I've never seen anything like it. And I remember there's something about this show that brings out the inner child.
Yes.
Like, that kid
pretty
who's
common.
waiting by the chimney
Yes.
to see if Santa comes out. I actually brought a friend with me who had never seen the show before, and to watch it through her eyes, I feel like that's the new tradition, is that everyone who's seen it needs to bring someone who's never seen it before.
Yes.
Because as soon as Santa comes out and he goes, I always get asked if I have a favorite toy, and I try not to play favorites, but there is one toy that stands out, and that's the lead into the Toy Soldiers number. And I grabbed her around her shoulders, and I was like, this is my favorite part. And thank goodness that number never got retired.
Yeah.
And to the creatives who are listening, never take that out.
I don't think that one's going away anytime
No.
soon.
And that's one, like, sorry to interrupt, where you feel as soon as we enter the stage, the audience always applauds.
Every
And it's
single
like
time.
chills, and we're just walking, it's that. It means something to so many people, us included.
And I feel like for people who have seen it every single year, that is what they come back for. But for newcomers, I think that's the one that for them leaves them with the most joy, is to see that, and then they'll come back next year because of that number specifically, which is cool. That's something that that we can give to them every year.
Yeah, and also just being such a musical theater nerd, I was like, those costumes were designed by Liza Minnelli's
Yes.
Nelly, yes.
the costumes were designed. The costumes that you guys wear are actually based on the original drawings done for that first production.
Yeah, it's
and little
amazing.
details like that, I feel like really come through. Whether or not you actually know the history, it feels like
Yes.
that history.
Yeah.
What are some other things that people would be surprised to learn about the Rockettes?
I think one of the biggest ones that when I've talked to people, when we are doing our famous eye high kicks that you can see there, is that we actually do not touch each other's back.
You don't have your hands like holding each other up.
We
on
do
your
not.
waist?
We do not. Sometimes we wish we probably could. But no, we don't. We actually, what we call fill the fabric. And so because, it is, like you said, the end of a 7.5 minute number, we are exhausted. But if you're pulling on somebody while we're kicking, that's going to make it harder for that person. So we hold our own, and we are not actually touching each other at all. We're just kind of lightly feeling the fabric. And so I think a lot of people are very surprised when they hear that, because they're like, oh, it looks like you guys are hanging on or holding each other up, or, like you said, and we're not. So I think that's what's really cool as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also, Elissa mentioned the height range of 5'6"
Right.
to 5'10.5". And we create sort of an illusion where we have, in the center of the line, we have our tallest Rockettes. And then it gradually becomes less tall, as we say, as we get towards the ends. So if you actually take a look at the end of the line and look in the middle, you'll see there is a drastic change in height. But because we all kick to our individual toe to eye level, it creates the illusion that we're all the same height, and it's
4.5 inches is actually a
pretty big.
It's a pretty big.
I figured that they like file down the heels.
a
of your
lot of
shoes.
people think that,
But they
nope,
don't.
Nope. Yeah, we all wear
So
the
if you
same
took the
size
girl at
heel.
the end of the line and put her next to the girl in the middle of the line, there would actually be 4 inches of.
There is actually 4.5
Yes.
inches difference.
wow.
It's just this illusion that is created with the distance of the line.
So what happens if someone gets sick or injured and has to call out? Does the whole line have to shift according to the height of whoever the replacement is?
That would definitely keep us on our toes.
Well, you're on your toes already.
But we have what are called swings, which
Right.
are amazing. So we have women who learn the track. Well, essentially, they learn every single Rockette's track in the show. And, Elissa and I do the show every day, and our individual paths are drastically different in the show. So
Where
there are Rockettes.
where are your spots in the line?
I'm 7th from stage left on the end, or 7th from the end on stage.
Okay.
And I am stage right, and I am 6th from the center. So I go
right,
from
so
I go
like-
from the
I'm
tall
shorter,
side.
so I count from the end, and she's
And I
taller. She
count from
counts
the
from the center.
Okay.
But we have what are called swings who learn my track, they learn Elissa's track, they learn generally 9 that they know like the back of their hand, but in case anything happens, they know the entire show. So if I, for instance, have like a personal day, or if I get an injury, there's somebody that can step into my track, do exactly what I do every single day and every single show, so that the audience doesn't know that there's anything different about
What if
the
she's
show.
4 inches shorter than you?
Well, there's a height range of them. So we have our tallest Rockette, we have our medium tall.
Oh, there's swings of everything.
Yeah,
Of
so
height.
we
You
there's
guys
a
think of
range
everything.
yeah. We cover
Got
the
it
bases.
covered.
We've been around for a while.
Well,
now,
not
so.
that I'm surprised. I mean, like I said, the precision of this company is what you're known for, and it does not surprise me at all that there is equal precision behind the scenes.
That's what we say. Backstage is just as choreographed as it is on
Yeah,
stage.
I mean, we're going to go to some questions from the audience in a second, but I'm really curious about the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. How many costume changes do you each have?
There are 8 numbers, so we have 7 actual costume changes. Our quickest one is about 90 seconds, and it goes from the Parade of the Wooden Soldiers, where you have pants, socks, shoes, jackets, gloves, hats, and cheeks, to our New York at Christmas number, which is this dress that we have on as on top of our coats and our muffs and our gloves, and that's all 90 seconds. So you have about one dresser per 2 or 3 Rockettes. You're taking all that stuff off, throwing it in a bin, having your dresser zip you up while another girl's putting on her shoes, and then you're literally back on stage in 90 seconds. So
Do you have that on under the toy soldiers thing at all?
no, not at all.
I worry about your temperature control a lot because it's like you're performing on the Thanksgiving Day parade. It's 0 degrees out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're freezing. And then you're up doing this crazy tap line wearing fur, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they must be boiling to death. So I hope that there's some serious attention to temperature control.
No, but it's
And
really
we
cool.
hydrate as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
a lot of water.
We're going to take a couple questions from the audience.
Great.
We're going to start with a question from an online viewer. So Joanna says, is there one routine that every Rockette loves most, or does everyone have a different favorite?
I would say that everyone has a different favorite.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and it's even hard to pick like your absolute favorite. Personally, I love New York at Christmas, which is the costume that we're wearing right now, and it's a large production number, and it stars the double-decker bus on the stage. So there's an actual double-decker bus that the Rockettes all board, and we take a tour of New York City.
It's another element, another place where the elements of high tech come in, because this
great.
bus sits in the middle of the stage with spinning wheels. It doesn't actually go anywhere, but because of this huge, like super high definition screen, you really feel like you're traveling through New York City into Central Park. And then there are these ice skaters who are skating on real ice in the middle of Radio City Music Hall stage.
Nobody does it like we do. That's and it's consistently year after year where there's an element that's brought into the show, or that like maybe we haven't even noticed before. Yeah. So it's the scale of it is just so huge, and it's really phenomenal.
Yeah. But Elissa, what's your favorite number?
My favorite number would have to be the reindeer number, which is the opening number of the show. We're all dressed in these amazing, like, kind of coat and unitard velvet costumes with antlers that actually light up like at the touch of a button. And I think it's really cool. The choreography that's been put there makes us, I feel like, really look like reindeer. And then Santa comes out and we take him out on, the ride to New York City, which I think is really cool. So that personally is my favorite number to do.
Yeah, cool. Do we have another question?
Hi.
Hi.
So there's a summer show now too, I guess, that's been added. Are you involved with that too? And is there an audition process for that also?
We are. We do have the Christmas show. The Christmas show, the summer show now at Radio City Music Hall, and both of us are a part of it. For that one, we do only have one cast, actually, as opposed to the 2 casts during Christmas. But there is still a process. We go through the exact same process that we do for Christmas for the summer show, and everybody has to audition and open call as well to do that show.
An open call for the summer show with only half as many spots.
Only half as many spots.
What do you guys do when you're not Rocketting?
Well, I mean, it is actually a full-time job now for the both of us, and so we get to do, outside appearances when we're not doing actual production shows. If not, we have women who are moms, we have women who are accountants. I do musical theater also on the side. Everybody has an outside life as well as Top of Rockettes, which is really cool because then we have that time during the show for the season to come together and spend time with each other.
And one of the things that I love that we do off season is we teach a lot. There's a summer intensive that we hold every year, and it's a chance for young striving dancers to see how we work in the studio, and we basically run the room how the room is run when we're in the studio. So I think it's a great tool it teaches a discipline to a lot of dancers because, it's hard to find, a dance technique class that sort of
Gears
parallels
towards that.
what we do.
That's going to spend 20 minutes on a wrist movement.
Exactly.
Those are hard to
It's true.
find.
And, it makes a world of a difference. And I think that there are plenty of women who have been actually hired from the intensive. So
I am one of those, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
I did
Well, I'm
not
glad
know
to hear
that.
that you guys all have outside lives, because in researching the history of the Rockettes, I learned about how, it used to be that the dancers would do 5 or 6 shows a day, that there were dorms on set, like on site at Radio City, that having a husband or a significant other was like frowned upon because it would distract you. So I'm glad to know that you guys are not like trapped there.
We're
permanently.
normal humans with outside lives that we do just like anybody would do as well.
Awesome. We've got time for one more question.
Hi there. Maybe I'll come back taller and slimmer in my next life. Anyway, I wanted to know, I took up walking recently, and it kills. Who looks after your feet? Do you get special attention, seriously, this is hard on the feet.
Well, as Elissa mentioned, we have an athletic training department, which they not only do they take care of our feet, they take care of us head to toe, and it's amazing. They're very good at taking preventative measures to make sure we don't get injured. And we were wearing 2.5 and 3-inch heels the whole entire show. So outside of the show, I'd say you find us in a flat more than a
No
heel.
heels involved
But,
outside of them.
yeah, it's mostly about taking the time to take care of our bodies in general. So we do our homework where we're on our foam rollers and getting massages and doing our out of the show things to keep our bodies up to par. But then we have a team that is amazing that takes care of us while we're at the theater.
If there's one thing you want people to take away from the Radio City Christmas Spectacular after whatever performance they attend, what is it?
I would have to say, just, it sounds kind of broad, but the experience as a whole. Like I said earlier, to be able to spend 90 minutes with a friend or a family, whoever it is that you go with, to me that is, you can't put a price on that. You can't put a price on an experience, and I think that is what's so best about, especially during the holiday season when there's so much stress about Christmas shopping and buying food and all of that stuff, that you can take 90 minutes out of your day, go spend it and just enjoy something for yourself and make it, like I said, an experience as opposed to like a chore or a job. And I think that, to me, that's what I would love everybody to do, is just take a moment for themselves during this busy holiday season.
I would like, along with what Elissa was saying, is I would like the audience to experience, the joy and what is so special about what we do. And I think that, both casts are really strong casts who love and we love performing. And we just hope that that is conveyed to the audience, and that the audience is left with the feeling that we get from performing. We hope that we're giving them that feeling. So I think that's what I'd like to.
Well, I can speak from experience, having gone, less than 24 hours ago. That feeling of joy and of really having reached the holiday season, it gets in your blood a little bit after walking out of Radio City Music Hall. You guys are such a huge part of that, such a New York City institution. It's been a thrill to have you here. I'm so glad you wore the outfits too. It just really kind of brings me back. And I'm glad we're at the beginning of the season. I know we'll see you tomorrow night at the lighting of the Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center.
Tonight.
Yeah, it's tonight.
Oh, it's tonight.
It's tonight.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you reminded me of that. I'm going to go home and set my DVR. But yeah, anything that has to do with New York City and Christmas time, the Rockettes are there. And I'm so happy that you were here with us today. Thanks, you guys.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much.
much,
Thank
you
you guys.
guys. Appreciate it.